There are towns that forget their sins. And then, there is Derry, a place that remembers. A place that feeds. Episode 1 of it, Welcome to Derry, opens, not with a scream, but with a whisper. The kind that crawls beneath your skin. The kind that tells you something terrible is already happening, and everyone's pretending not to notice. The year is 1962. The small town of Derry, Maine, looks like a picture postcard. Children ride their bikes past white picket fences. The air hums with radio jingles and summer heat. But behind those tidy curtains, there's a darkness waiting, and it begins with a boy named Matty Clements. Matty is an ordinary kid with an ordinary face. Too small for the football team, too brave for his own good. In the opening minutes, we see him sneaking into the local movie theater with a few coins and a daring smile. He watches the film alone, lost in the flickering light, unaware that something is watching him. As the movie reel stutters, the lights flicker, and for a fraction of a second, the screen isn't showing actors anymore. It shows him, Matty, sitting in the audience, and the version of himself on screen smiles back. He rubs his eyes, laughs it off, and leaves the theater into the rain-soaked night. The streets of Derry are silent, empty, except for the distant echo of a circus tune, faint, like a music box being wound up in a locked basement. Matty doesn't notice the red balloon drifting across the road. He doesn't notice the clown-shaped shadow stretching across the sidewalk. He just disappears. No one sees him again. 4 months later, the story moves to the heart of Derry, the kind of town where gossip moves faster than truth. 4 kids, Lily Bainbridge, Teddy Uri's, Phil Markin, and Ronnie Grogan, spend their summer days pretending not to be afraid. They call themselves the losers of Derry Elementary, not because they're proud, but because it's better to name your curse before it names you. But Matty's disappearance changed everything. They start hearing things. Lily swears she hears her name whispered from the drains. Teddy's radio turns on by itself, playing songs no one remembers, recording. And Phil, the quiet one, keeps sketching the same balloon in his notebook every single day. The adults, as always in Derry, ignore it. The police write it off as another runaway. The church holds a sermon about the wickedness of children. And beneath it all, the town sighs, as though relieved that the darkness has found someone else. Meanwhile, far from the children's games, a new character arrives. Major Leroy Hanlon, reporting for duty at Derry Air Force Base. He's greeted with smiles that don't reach the eyes, and handshakes that feel more like warnings. The base sits on the edge of town, surrounded by pine trees and secrets. And Leroy, a black officer in the early 60s, feels the cold sting of Derry's old ghosts the moment he steps through the gate. There's talk of strange experiments, hushed voices about electromagnetic tests, and files stamped classified. But Leroy's real unease comes at night, when the sirens wail for no reason, and the air smells faintly of iron. He starts seeing shapes in the fog. Children, maybe, or not quite children, back with the kids. The mystery deepens. Lily and her friends visit the theater, the same one where Matty vanished. The marquee now plays a different movie, but the reel skips, showing flashes of something older, something wrong. They sit there watching static, and in the static, a face forms. It's Matty, his eyes wide, his mouth open, whispering, "Don't watch." But of course, they do. The screen ripples like water, and the image bursts into chaos. A monstrous infant, deformed, pale, screeching tears through the projection, crawling from the light into the aisles. The kids scream, scramble to escape, but the doors won't open. Phil trips, Teddy pulls him up. Lily looks back just once and sees Matty standing beside the creature, smiling with blood on his shirt. Then, silence. The reel stops spinning, the projector flicks off, and the surviving kids run into the street, shaking, pale, and crying. By morning, the theater is closed, the bodies are gone, and the town of Derry pretends, again, that nothing ever happened. Major Hanlon, meanwhile, is called to investigate a disturbance at the same theater. What he finds is impossible. Melted film reels fused to the walls, scorched seats, and puddles of water on the floor. As if something crawled out, he asks about the missing kids. But his questions are met with quiet stares and a single sentence: "Best to let Derry handle its own." That night, Hanlon lies awake in his quarters. He hears tapping on the window, soft, rhythmic, deliberate. He opens the curtain and finds a red balloon tied to the glass. The camera lingers on his face, fear mixed with recognition, before cutting to black. That's the story on the surface. But Welcome to Derry isn't just horror, it's history repeating itself, a curse built into the soil. Every scene hides a clue, every whisper connects to something older. When the kids find Matty's bike in the storm drain, it's a direct mirror to Georgie's boat in the original It. The turtle charm Matty gives Lily in an earlier flashback, a nod to Maturin, the ancient being that opposes Pennywise in King's universe. Even the Air Force subplot isn't random. The base sits where the Black Spot once stood, the legendary nightclub burned down in Stephen King's lore, where Derry's racial hatred first bled into supernatural evil. Leroy Hanlon's lineage ties directly to Mike Hanlon, the historian of the Losers Club, the sins of fathers, repeating across time. Thematically, Episode 1 sets up a story about memory. Derry doesn't forget, it feeds on memory. Every person who tries to move on is dragged back by guilt, fear, or nostalgia. The bright colors, the happy jingles, the laughter of children, they're not comforting, they're camouflaged. Notice how often the camera lingers on reflections, puddles, mirrors, projector light. Derry is obsessed with doubles, with things that look right, but aren't. Matty's double on the theater screen is the most obvious example, but there's more. In one scene, Lily's mother calls her from the kitchen. Lily walks in, and for a second, the camera catches two silhouettes, her mother standing at the stove, and another figure standing just behind her. Then it's gone. It's subtle, but it's there. Every sound, every line, every flicker in this first episode is designed to tell us Derry isn't haunted by ghosts. It is the ghost, a living, breathing organism that shapes itself into whatever you fear most. Even the baby creature in the theater isn't random body horror, it's symbolic, the birth of the next cycle. Derry's evil reborn, literally emerging through the medium of storytelling, the film reel, as if saying, every story you tell here, I own. There's a small moment near the end, blink and you'll miss it. As the episode fades out, we hear a faint laugh. Not Pennywise's laugh, not yet, but something inhuman. And if you listen closely, underneath it, there's an echo like the turning of a film projector. It suggests that Derry itself is watching, recording, waiting for its next showing. Major Hanlon's final scene confirms this. He receives a letter on his desk, unmarked, sealed with red wax. Inside, a single photograph of him, standing outside the base, taken from an impossible angle. On the back, a message scrawled in ink. Welcome to Derry. The light in his office flickers. The radio hums, static. Cut to credits. But for those who've read Stephen King's lore, the meaning is clear. This is where it begins, decades before the Losers Club, before Bill, Beverly, Ben, and Richie, before Georgie's paper boat floated into the storm drain. This is the birth of Pennywise. The entity hasn't yet taken the form we know. The clown is still learning, feeding on fear in smaller forms. The red balloon, the laughter, the visions, all symptoms of its awakening. And Derry itself is the cradle. The show's creators described it as a story about innocence dying, the loss of childhood in the face of an ancient hunger. Episode 1 delivers that with precision, blending Cold War paranoia, small-town cruelty, and supernatural terror into one suffocating atmosphere. Lily's final shot, standing by the drain where Matty's bike was found, mirrors Georgie's fate, a child peering into the dark, drawn by something she doesn't understand. She leans closer, and we hear a soft giggle, not menacing, almost friendly. Then, the screen cuts to black. The cycle has begun. Again. What makes Welcome to Derry truly disturbing is how it doesn't need to show Pennywise to make you feel him. He's in the silences, in the townsfolk pretending not to see. In the way fear becomes tradition, and that's what episode 1 captures perfectly. The idea that evil doesn't invade Derry. It is Derry. Every generation forgets, until it's their turn to remember. And the remembering always begins with a disappearance. So when you watch that first episode, pay attention to the background, the flicker of a balloon in a window, the reflection that doesn't move when it should. Because Welcome to Derry isn't just telling a story, it's pulling you into it. And once you've seen it, Derry sees you too. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit subscribe, because this was just the first ripple. Next week, we'll step deeper into the drains, where laughter echoes like screaming, and memory becomes a trap. Until then, keep your lights on, and whatever you do, don't follow the balloons.